All right. So, do humans have free will? There is this, I guess, philosophy you say called like determinism or predeterminism or superdeterminism, or those all may be a thing and all different. But it pretty much states that everything is the way things happen. It was already going to happen that way. Like from a religious point of view, God controls everything. You have no free will. From a scientific point of view, the way things happen are already going to happen according to like the laws of nature and physics or whatnot. You feel me? So with that being said, is that actually true? There's like a yes and a no to that because like understand that in ancient philosophies, right, you do have the whole non-doer philosophy, right? But understand that the way it's being used nowadays, this whole we don't have free will thing, it's like imagine if all evil just took over and you said, well, it was God's will anyway. It was his destined to happen. And it's like, no, that's not how that works. Because here's how destiny actually works. Things aren't destined to happen because the future already exists. No, only the present moment exists. And based off of how you are in the present moment is going to determine what happens in the future. And then that is destiny. It was destined, like if all evil took over, right? It was destined to happen, not because in the future all evil already did it, but because in the present moment the people were not ready to defend themselves and fight the evil. So it was destined to happen off of that fact, because in the present moment the people were not overcoming it. So with that being said, right, how do you actually gain more free will? Because in a way you can be seen as not having free will. Animals, right? Animals just act off of impulse and stuff like that. You feel me? So you could say that they don't have free will. But they actually do, just not that much. It's not that much at all. And with humans, right? Humans have more free will because we are more conscious. Now, what does this actually mean? People always talk about some you gotta become the observer, just watch and just let things happen. That's true. You should be the observer. But that's only one aspect of you. That's only one. You can literally create, sustain, and observe realities. But like you could create and sustain. You don't just have to just observe. But here's why this observe thing is important. Because when you don't just observe, right, you just let things happen off impulse, right? Then your intellect and your character is just going off the impulse and what it was already going to do. You feel me? Like from birth, right? You're set to think, feel, and act a certain way off of genetic memory, past life memory, the stuff you take in from the outside world, and in the way you take in information is going to be based upon your past life stuff, genetic memory and stuff, and also even what you learn in this life. But like I said, even that's influence from the past. So it's this never ending feedback loop of past influencing the present and the present influences the present also. Because like you could take things in one way based off your past, and then someone could change how you take things in. But you are only open to that change per se because how you were in the past. That's what it could be seen like, at least, if only your intellect is just running wild and stuff like that. And yeah, but here's what determines your free will, where you could become the observer and then start observing your own awareness. Because when you start to observe your intellect, right, and your thoughts and emotions, right, you may get a thought that says, "Hey, do this," and then you be like, "Wait, I don't want to do that," and then boom, you go up a level. Now you have a bit more free will because before the thought just came through you, then acting and stuff like that. But someone could say you don't have free will because it was already going to happen that you had that thought and then looked at that thought and said, hold up, don't do that. You feel me? So somebody could say it was already determined that you would become a bit more conscious per se. Now, even if that is true, right? When you become fully conscious, yeah, it may have been determined that you were gonna get there, but once you're there, you're definitely off free will. And even when you don't get there having full consciousness, right? You're still using free will. Now, let me explain how you're using free will. Let's say you do something, right? And you're like, oh my God, why did I do that? Non-doer philosophy honestly does tell you that when you did that action, it wasn't you. That was your ego, your intellect channeling through you. But you are not that. You are the source. You're just not identified with the source. Now, here's the thing. When you're identified with the ego, you let your ego act how it wants to act. And guess what, bud? It's your free will to identify with the ego. You choose to identify with the ego and the thoughts and the emotions that it has. Once you start choosing to observe with the higher parts of yourself, right? it can actually start creating a cognitive dissonance, because inside yourself you have this one part that just you have your ego, intellect, character thing that wants to just do this character stuff. Then you have you trying to deal with the higher parts of yourself. But once you fully identify with the higher parts of yourself, right, it starts to you get thoughts, emotions, and actions from the higher parts of yourself, because the intellect comes from consciousness. But the thing is, right, when you have a low level of consciousness, you have no control over the intellect. When you are at a full state of consciousness, which comes from being able to fully observe your own awareness, because most people just observe their own thoughts, you know, and because you're observing your own thoughts, you're getting a bit deeper and deeper to your true self. Once you observe your own awareness with no thoughts, that's where intelligence and will gets produced. Intelligence is the ability to know something. You feel me? You are aware of your own awareness. You know that you are aware. Most people are aware and don't really know that they're actually aware. Like right now, right, we're not even fully conscious, because there's things that we're perceiving, but we're not aware that we're actually perceiving that. So because of that, right, we're not actually fully conscious. You feel me? Once the more we can perceive what we're the more that we're able to perceive the stuff that we're perceiving, the more that we can become aware of what we're actually already perceiving, the more consciousness we actually gain. We gain more intelligence. We know that this is there. We know that we are aware of stuff like that. Intelligence and willpower can generate the intellect and emotions and stuff like that. You feel me? So because of that, right? Because you're fully conscious, right, and you are observing your own awareness, right? You can now control the intellect and say, okay, intellect think this, intellect think that. Hey, do this. Hey, do that. You have more control now over these things, opposed to just being an impulsive being who just has the thoughts just flow then act and flow then act. You feel me? So you can actually gain more and more free will by becoming more conscious. Now, like I said, someone can say you are already predetermined to become conscious. And even if that is true, you're still conscious now, bud. So you now have free will. You feel what I'm saying, bro? A part of you does have free will. And even when you're not determined to already be conscious, right? You're still choosing to identify with your ego, whether you know it or not. Now, granted, the way that things work inside life, you are more penalized in life when you are a conscious being and you choose to do wrong. Because when you just randomly do wrong, right, you're not as penalized. You still experience the same negative effects, but you're not as penalized. Because, for example, if you did something that was wrong, right, but you didn't know that it was wrong, there's no guilt. If you do something that's wrong, knowing that it's wrong, there's going to be guilt, even if you suppress it at first, because you're not in tune with the highest part of yourself at all. You feel me? You just observed a lower part of yourself that still has some level of like imagine you could have the highest level of consciousness up here. This is the highest level of consciousness, but down here there's still some consciousness. It's not fully conscious. It's not aware of everything, but it's aware of some things. And that doesn't mean that it's good. It could be it could be a negative being at that level, and you can identify with that part of yourself that has some awareness. You know, yeah, this is wrong, but I'm still gonna do it anyway. You feel me? Because you haven't identified with the truest, highest part of yourself that would never even do that. Because you could know right and wrong as you get to the top without getting to the top. So you can still know, oh, this is wrong, but I'm still gonna do it. You feel what I'm saying, bro? So I'm not gonna lie, when I got to that point, I kind of lost track of of how I even got to that part of this video, talking about that whole what I just talked about. But my whole entire I think I know. Okay, so yeah, with that whole thing being said, though, right? You choose to identify with things. You feel me? Whether you know it or not. Now, granted, because you may not know what you choose to identify with, because you may not know what you choose to identify with this, that you're not as penalized and stuff like that. But once you start knowing, the more you know, the more you're penalized. So, yeah, understand that we do have free will. You know, like you're able to choose what you observe and identify with. And then once you identify with your own awareness, you now have control over your intelligence and your will. You feel me? And how you want to think, feel, and act. So definitely, and also when you get in tune with that higher awareness, you get in tune with what's right and wrong and what you should and shouldn't do and all that type of stuff. So it's like you'll know, like you'll know if what you're doing is right or wrong. And then if you choose to do the wrong thing, you use your free will to do that wrong thing. You feel me? Now, someone could say it was already determined for things to be like that, but it's like in the moment, it wasn't. You made the choice. You feel me? And then someone could say it was predetermined, but what that really means is the fact that because you're a certain kind of way, you were more likely to make that choice in the beginning, but you still made the choice. Yeah, you're likely to do something, but you still choose to do it, you know? So I hope you could get what I'm saying, bro. Like you can see how this whole non-doer stuff is like a bit tricky because from the highest aspect, it's supposed to be used as saying you are the source. So when you act out of tune with the source, that's not you because you are the source. People are using it now to say that nothing, there's no free will, every action, good or bad from the source or not, there's no free will, we're not actually acting, things are already determined to be how they are, and it's like it's not how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to say that when you act from lower parts of yourself, it's not you, you're the source. And if you identify with the source will channel through you. You feel me? So even then you may not identify with the source in the actions that you do, but you still identify with the source and you still choose. It's your free will to choose to identify with the source and let the source channel through you. That's how it's supposed to be. Y'all get what I'm saying, bro? Y'all get what I'm saying, bro? This video kind of long.